damn it. No, I can zoom in. Now I see you even better. Very nice. How much?
I like sunlight. Nobody else care?
Well, no one's gonna care.
I don't care.
I like people that walk up the street that dress like that.
As long as you don't look stupid, I don't care.
Well,
that's hard to do though. So, wish I had another one because look what I bought on Amazonian.
Oh wow.
$3. Guess what it's used for?
What does that do?
What the heck? The who do? It's an iPhone holder, so you can screw that in on a tripod, and it'll, or you can hold it on a tripod.
Oh,
and
yeah, right.
Because when you hold your phone, it's a pain, but this will sit on a tripod and just record. In fact, I could record just like that.
Cool.
2 angles, same video, edit, change angle, pop, 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 pop.
That's cool. That's cool.
No, it's not school, it's cool.
I know.
Get your crap.
All right,
right.
so
We'll try it.
anyways, it's been a minute since live here. So it's been a minute since we've been in here, since we've done this. So it's something that we're going to try to get back focused again. And so kind of off topic, but to Jody's point that when you work together as a team, things work out in your favor. So now we've got things I feel really good about. We have a lot of things in line. We've got a pace. I just learned something else just a minute ago about the whole pace. So the whole franticness. So I now have no excuses for not doing this and being well prepared every Wednesday. That's what that does. That's a short story there, which I'll regret saying that. The other day I wrote a quick, what I would call a blog. I mean, it's too long for a blog. I don't know. And I don't know if you guys read it. It was about my little philosophy on losing. Did you guys, anybody read that? I sent it out to everybody. I know that you read it.
Did I get it?
I may not have because I sent it out Sunday, and I'm still. I'm sure. Again, I don't know. I may not have gotten it, but it doesn't matter. I'm just going to expand on that. And basically, the point to that was an esteemed colleague of mine basically made a quote, and I kind of took that quote and ran with it. And my philosophy is this, is that it's amazing to me how many times we talk about losing in a negative light. It's no one wants to be a loser, no one wants to lose, no one wants to suffer a loss. Now when you're talking about something personal like a family member, obviously, but when we're talking about life and going after something in business, I have a completely different perspective of that. And that is that you should go out and you should look for as many opportunities to fail as possible. Okay? And I'm going to leave that alone, and I'm just going to kind of expand on what I already kind of wrote down on that. I'm going to tell you a story about a guy. I'm going to tell you the 4 reasons that I think why you lose. I'm going to tell you what some insights that an esteemed colleague gave me about the losses on that, and then I'm going to tell you why it is you shouldn't be afraid of it. And so the first thing I'm going to start out is that there are 4 reasons basically why you lose in pretty much in any endeavor. And I'm not saying that these are the only 4, but to me, I think they're categorized as maybe the top 4. And that the first one is your limitations. Okay? If Devon and I get into a push-up contest, he has a certain amount of limitations there. Okay? I'm probably going to win that battle. All right? I think we just proved that out. Okay? The second reason for loss is tardiness. Being late when you're supposed to be on time, and interruptions with meetings. So that's the first reason. The second reason for a loss is resources. Okay? And let's take the game of Risk, for example. You run out of resources, you're going to run out of the ability to win. And a lot of times when you look back at military battles or something like that, resources can be things like the amount of people that you have or the amount of things that you have to rely on. Okay? Knowledge is another major reason for loss. You just absolutely simply do not know what it is that you're doing. And then, of course, the one that gets talked about probably the most, and that I'm going to talk about the least today, is effort. You can simply lose because you didn't try hard enough. And a lot of times we like to use that as a caveat to, especially when we're talking to someone else about, hey, there was an opportunity here and there was some failure on your end, and boy, you just need to try harder. Okay? So let's back up for just a minute here. Limits, resources, knowledge, and effort. And what I like about that, when it comes to the issue of losses, is that at the end of the day, all of those things, all 4 of those things can be changed. They're absolutely 100% in your control. Okay? One of them, though, I believe, is more important than the rest of them. Resources, you can always go get more resources, or you can do more with your resources, or you can add to your resources, or you can find more resources, okay? Or you can outsource to different resources, or you can increase your resources. Resources is how, especially in the business world, I mean, that's how the world works. Individually, if you were to say to yourself, I want to lose X amount of weight, and you didn't do anything about the people around you, for motivation, for workout partners, that's a resource that you can use. You can increase that. Knowledge is the same way. Some of these are put together, okay? Again, if you were going to say, I wanted to lose weight, you didn't know anything about it, and you just decided you were going to stop eating, it's probably not the best way to go. There's not really much of an excuse for going out and gaining more knowledge. Effort speaks for itself. Try hard, try again. But the one I want to talk about the most is limits. Because failing or losing or suffering a loss because of limitations is a good thing, and it's one of the only ways that you know what you can do. You will never know how fast you can run by beating other people. You just know who can't beat you. You will only know how fast you can run the day that you run, that you cannot run any faster than whatever this time was. Whatever that time was, if it's a 6-minute mile, and you try and you never can beat that, then you know what your limitations are. Business-wise, personally-wise especially, those are the type of things that we should be going after. We should be able to find out what our limitations are. It's perfectly okay to fail miserably in an event when you're up against your limits. There's a couple of lessons that come out of that. One is, you might know which way to turn. You might say to yourself, man, I gave XYZ project or job or endeavor my maximum effort. I learned as much as I could. I maximized my resources. I just have a limitation there. Maybe I should go do something else. Does that make sense? Or that's as good as I can be. At the end of the day, what you want to be able to do is look back and say, and Richard Branson, the billionaire guy, he says, you know, you try not to lose. You try not to lose, and you try not to lose. But at the end of the day, if you did everything that you could not to lose and you still lose, that's okay, that's a win. Because you did everything that you could do, as long as you know that you pushed it to your limits. Knowing that you lost, or not knowing what you can do, not knowing what you could have done is way, way worse than any defeat you will ever suffer. Not knowing is horrible. Trust me on this, it's a train wreck. So I'm going to tell you something, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a guy named, you may know. I like sports, I hate sports analogies, and I don't know much about baseball, which is interesting because this is all about baseball and sports analogies. Tim Wakefield, does anybody know who Tim Wakefield is?
Knuckleball thrower.
Yeah, absolutely, knuckleball thrower. This guy's got an amazing story. Here's what happened. Tim Wakefield he can catch reasonably well, but he can't throw a fastball, he has no speed, and he can't bat. And he's been in the major leagues for 19 years. I know, right? He can't throw 80 miles an hour with any kind of speed and accuracy. He can't bat. He got drafted. He had a big year when he started, when he said some in the minor leagues, he hit a bunch of balls, got to the major leagues, didn't do really well. So he decided to start throwing knuckleballs. He was for the Pirates. One of his coaches or somebody around him said, hey, you got a kind of handle on this knuckleball thing, because he was on his way out. So they kind of coached him along. Turns out he has a pretty good knuckleball. His first debut as a big league pitcher was in the NCLS, or NL, am I saying that right? Championship Series with the Pirates. Okay? He blew them out. He had an amazing game. His debut as a pitcher, he's a knuckleball pitcher, which is just a nightmare if you're a manager because you never know what's going to happen. He did amazingly well. He won the game for him. And I don't remember if the Pirates went on to win the World Series, but they got to the World Series anyways. He did amazingly well. Next year, he starts opening game. And if I'm not mistaken, don't quote me on this, but I believe his first pitch, first batter was a whack over the fence. He was horrible. He was horrible. 2 months later, the Pirates are like, okay, Tim Wakefield, can't hit, can't catch him. Now he can't throw a knuckleball out of the pool. A coach from the Red Sox, went to his committee and said, there's this guy, Tim Wakefield, and we have to go get him. Now, when you're a pitching coach or a pitching recruiter or however that works, and you go to your upper management and you say, somebody is somebody we need to go get, they don't go, okay, great. You got to show them why. And they said, how do you know that this kid is not just a flash in the pan and had one good game? And his coach said, his soon-to-be coach said, well, he can't be a flash in the pan. He's too young. He doesn't know enough. And they said, well, he was pretty bad for 2 months. He goes, nah. And they did an interview with him. They said, well, what did you do with Tim Wakefield? He said, well, we had the conversation about why your ball spins and why it comes out of your hand funny and why it's not going the way it was supposed to be going. But all I had to do with Tim Wakefield was show him how not to get defeated by his losses. That guy just, not too long ago, won his 200th game. It's the most in Red Sox history. He won 200 games, was that close to getting kicked out, and he just had a coach basically tell him, you got to get your head right. You got to learn how not to get affected by your losses. You have some limitations right now. And your limitations, we just got to worry about how to butt up against those limitations and how to push forward. And I love that story, not because of the success that he had, but because the coach looked at him and said, well, here's the reasons that you lose. Your limitations, your resources, your effort, your knowledge. Well, he had all the effort in the world. He was up against some limitations that were mental, and he needed to be around better resources, but his knowledge. But it wasn't knowledge of how to or what to do next. It was knowledge of how not to be defeated by your losses. In my perspective, losses are absolutely amazingly huge as far as taking the next step forward. Sometimes they direct you into where to go and to how to get to move that next forward. And I think that especially in our society, today, right now, where it is what do you have and what do you own, and lots of things around us are status quos. We want to talk about win, win, win. America loves its winners and they forget about its losers. And that's our mindset that we have when we talk about winning and losing, but we shouldn't. Our mindset should be the more losses you rack up and the more failures you have at attempts in life, probably the more things you're trying, the more things that you're doing, the more things, it should be anyways, the more things that you're attempting and the more things that you're willing to get out there and give it a shot. We can't be worried about whether or not we win or lose. My esteemed colleague, I told you I was going to also say this, my esteemed colleague pointed out something. He said his father told him that you don't learn anything from your losses, you learn about when you win later. In other words, you go out, you suffer the loss, you come back, you say, what were the reasons? I did this, couldn't do this, didn't know this, need a little help here, and then you go back and apply it, and once you apply it, then you've learned. I don't agree with that 100%, but it's a very good point, but it does remind me of something. Knowledge without application, and in this instance, knowledge of why it is that we failed at something, if you don't apply that knowledge, is simply a memory. Put your hand in the fire, it burned me. I remember last time I shouldn't put my hand in the fire. You get burned again. Remember the last time I did is put my hand in the fire, and you keep doing it. You've learned. No, you haven't. All you did was remember. You haven't actually learned. So to learn, you need to go forward and have some success there, at least some success. Okay, so the problem with that is that if we apply that knowledge, what happens when we run up against our limitations and we absolutely physically cannot run faster than a 6:03 mile? We can't do it. That's what we call, that's your limits. And if you think, if I was to get to that spot in the points of my life that Jody has showed us, where we draw, where's the 5 areas in your life that you're at, and if you were at the limits, a maximum of what you could do in each one of those, you're not doing 100%. The only way you're going to know if you're at 100% for all of those is you're going to fail, 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 fail. Right? It's not win, 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 win. It's fail. It tells you where you're at. That's your maximum. So seek that ultimate failure, if you will. And that's my message for the day, and that's all I know about shrimping business. All right.
Good job, man.
And I didn't know, you guys didn't know I had esteemed colleagues, did you?
No, I didn't know you had esteemed colleagues.
Tell us who he is.
That's his name.
That's a really good way to look at that last part.
What'd you say, man?
You can sit there and say that. Because if you're always hitting whatever that is, you're always winning. That's not it.
No. The 2 best athletes I've ever known in my life, and I think that I've had the privilege of being around 2 of the best athletes that were ever born. I know a kid that ran a 36:06 6 mile. You can look up later why that's amazingly fast. He did it in the 5th grade. He never raced one day in his life after he was a senior in high school. Conversely, there's another guy named Gundas Vaughn, who is a Swedish skier who beat everybody there was on the planet, and he retired out of the blue. And they asked him why he retired. He goes, I beat everybody. I would much rather be the kid in high school. To beat everybody, be like, I beat them all. He really did. He did. I beat them all. I don't have anybody else left to beat. He didn't say no one else could beat me. He says, I beat them all. To be that your goal, that would be sad to me. To say, these are the people I want to beat. When I do it, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know? You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. This guy's arguably the best of all time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying he's not, but it's to your point. It's interesting that it's interesting that a lot of times we want to talk about the people that we beat. When I was in the Cardinals, I used to tell people that's kind of strange because if I just want to win a basketball game, the first thing I'm going to do is go play against third graders and I'll win every time. Maybe.
Right.
Well, for not to get big third graders.
Mm-hmm.
Top here. So I don't know if I think I ran a little bit too long, but I think the idea before was to kind of open up kind of just a free discussion, Jeff. And I know this is probably new to you, and we just kind of talk about, you know, kind of we used to do just kind of takeaways, but just kind of an open forum. And
I as I was listening, I was like downloading the areas in life that I could apply the exact message to, you know, and a lot of it's like with like I hate auditioning for commercials. I hate them. I've gotten maybe 2 or 3 national commercials in 15 years, and I just hate them. I hate the process. I hate the people that pick. I hate that I'm not what they're looking for technically. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And but I have one here and there. But I'm always like, I do these commercial auditions to get to the movies, the industrials, the web series, that kind of thing, the storytelling things, which I'm good at. And the sad part about it is the commercial ones pay fucking ridiculous. But the thing is, I always go with I'm just gonna get this out of the way, so I have an agent, so I can get on to the next one. But the thing is I have one sometimes, but I have such a defeatist attitude. The same thing with I don't even think about it anymore. I don't even really go to try. I'm like, if they pick me, they pick me. If not, I don't have time. I'm doing something else. You know, kind of deal. And I think a lot of that's with the knuckleballer guy. I just have to teach him not to worry about it. But I've conditioned in my mind, and it's cemented in there that I don't do this. I can't. They pick me every once in a while. Do you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so I was thinking about that. There's something else I was just thinking about right before I went to that point. Oh yeah. When you're talking about the guy who quit, you know, he just up and quit. A few years back, I quit acting for a year, and it's because I had I won everything that you can win here multiple times, probably I probably won more than anybody ever. And then there's all these different kinds of awards. So they finally invented one year they were just gonna make an award that was the ultimate best of Dallas. It was the ultimate best of all the awards ever, and and I tied with the guy who's starring on Broadway now, and but I just quit because I started hating it sort of, and I just up and stopped. And one of my friends said the exact same thing. He's like, "Well, Jeff, you won the war years ago. Now you're just oppressing the people of the territories. No wonder you're depressed. No wonder you don't like it. You got to find the new war, you know." And then once I did that, I was like, oh, and I started liking it again. You know what I'm saying? Just sometimes I think some people love the journey. You know, they like that being challenged. I mean, I used to play this game called Perfect Dark, if y'all know what that game is. Okay, but I'm a nerd good at it. Ridiculously good at it. To the point where I can't have fun in the game unless it's
Perfect Dark is the Nintendo 64 version of it's the upgraded James
GoldenEye.
Oh yeah,
GoldenEye.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's better than GoldenEye though. It's way better than
But it's I can't I got to where I couldn't have fun unless it was 3 good people versing only me. Like, you know what I'm saying? And like, you know, pretty soon you're just like, this isn't fun. It's because there's not the danger of losing. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Do you think you felt that way? Like if he's like just gonna go out there and beat him? There's not the same challenge it had at the beginning.